gentlemen, we're going to start this meeting. I know we have a lot to get through. If everyone would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Switch. No, thank you.
I would ask everybody if you would please mute your cell phones.
That means me.
Ms. Timika, are you ready for a roll call?
Yep, I'm ready for roll call.
Super.
Madam Mayor,
Here.
Mr. Powers,
Here.
Madam President,
Here.
Mr. Costigan,
Here.
Mr. Sidlow,
Here.
Mr. Willis,
Here.
Mr. Sweigart,
Here.
Mr. Roto,
Here.
Mr. Bull,
Here.
Ms. Guy,
Here.
Mohawk, Daniel, Briona, and Chief.
Super. Everybody's had an opportunity to read the minutes from the December meeting. What's your pleasure, please?
Madam President, if I may,
Yes.
I have a statement that I'd like to read regarding my absence from last month's meeting. I don't know if you want me to do that now or,
Are you comfortable doing that now?
yeah.
Okay, thank you. So, I feel that I owe it to you all, the residents, to explain my absence from last month's council meeting. In advance of our December meeting, I met with members of the council from both parties, and I thought we had come to an agreement where I would be able to serve as president to address several issues in the borough. As you know, that's not how things went in the December meeting. In my mind, things were falling apart, and I was the only one who was willing to fix them. Now, I know it's kind of ridiculous to think, but that's what my brain was thinking at the time. I saw from my perspective a group of adults who only wanted to fight instead of working together to solve our problems. The stress of all this drove me over the edge, and I had a manic episode for which I needed to be hospitalized. Imagine my surprise when my good faith efforts to correct issues in the borough were undermined in order for others to take control. An effort even they know was at best short-lived and misguided. Since I was diagnosed 6 years ago as being bipolar, I've tried to hide from my diagnosis, fearful of the stigma others place upon mental health issues. But I feel that now is the time to start speaking out and maybe start to bring this terrible stigma to an end. Hopefully I can in some way help to make others feel better about their own struggle with mental illness, as I believe we all do struggle with maybe not mental illness, but with our own struggles in day-to-day life. It's very difficult for me to describe what it means to be bipolar, as it is very difficult for me to understand myself. The best analogy that I can use to describe it is like waves crashing into a beach. There's a peak, a period of mania, which is the high. For me, I feel good, I become extroverted, I feel confident, and I'm highly productive. Then it is inevitably followed by a crash, a period of depression, the low. I feel so low that even getting out of bed and getting dressed is a struggle. These phases can last for days, sometimes even months. You don't know when they will come or when they'll go, and you're just along for the ride, fighting a daily battle, which varies depending on the phase you're in. The late Carrie Fisher, a dedicated advocate for bipolar awareness and someone who also suffered from bipolar, described it this way: "It feels like my mind's been having a party all night long, and I'm the last person to arrive, and now I have to clean up the mess." To put it simply, my mind had a party a month ago, and now I'm left to clean up the mess that I've made. Bipolar also has a very real stigma because it is so easily misunderstood. One of my favorite people to listen to talk about their experience with bipolar is Kanye West. Putting aside his recent controversies, I sympathize with him and recognize a lot of the same thoughts and behaviors in myself as I see in him. He describes this stigma so well when he says, quote, "Bipolar is a health issue that has a strong stigma on it, and people are allowed to say anything about it and discriminate it in any way. This is like having a sprained brain, like having a sprained ankle. And if someone has a sprained ankle, you're not going to push on him more. With us, once our brain gets to the point of spraining, people do everything to make it worse. They do everything possible to make it worse." End quote. I would only add that unlike a sprained ankle, the bipolar brain never fully heals. It might heal for a while, but it will inevitably sprain again, over and over again, and can do so at any time. When he says people do everything to make it worse, this is often unintentional. Oftentimes people have the best intentions, but because they are so little understanding of bipolar, their efforts actually end up making things worse. Now let me discuss specifically what happened last month. For the last few years, I've heard from members of this council about how this is a team, how decisions should be made together. Words matter, but actions speak louder. During last month's reorganization, while I was locked in a psychiatric unit in a hospital for 2 weeks over the Christmas holiday, even away from my own family, and unable to even communicate with anyone outside of a hall phone that could only be used at certain times, this council reorganized without me simply because they could. My absence provided the Republicans with a 3-3 tie that could be broken by the mayor. To go further, my name was used to suggest that I in some way supported this action. To be clear, I do not in any way support or condone the reorganization as it was handled. To make matters even worse, the Public Safety Committee that I chaired, which I so enjoyed, was stripped from me. I have still not received an explanation for this, but the only explanation I can think of is due to the stigma that some people think I can't handle it. I assure you that I can handle it. Furthermore, the mayor was added as a co-chair of the Recreation Committee because I'm told it was thought that I needed help. And I do appreciate the sentiment, and I do appreciate the help, but it would have been nice to at least be consulted in the matter. For the past year, I've done everything I can to bring this council together. While only trying to do what is right and what is in the best interest of the residents, I have faced a tremendous degree of opposition. For much of the past year, I feel as though I have been pulled in 2 different directions. It seemed that everything I did or said upset one side or the other. As a pragmatic consensus builder, this has been hard. I don't know how many times I need to say this, but politics at this level should not be partisan. It should be about doing what's in the best interest of the community. It should not be this difficult or this stressful. To be candid, the stress from Parkside politics is what put me over the edge. Over the past month, I've come to the realization that the stress of trying to bring this council together is just simply not worth it anymore. I feel that I need to prioritize my own mental health. As the old expression goes, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. I thought I could make this horse drink, but time and time again I've been proven wrong. But as disheartening as that is, I'm still optimistic. To be even more candid, I have thought about resigning from this council over the last month. I don't have the same joy in this role as I once did, but I take my commitment to public service very seriously, and I feel an obligation to the residents who elected me to serve. I will continue to do so, and I will keep trying to bring this council together, but it will not be with the same passion and energy that I once had. I only hope that you can find it in your heart to offer me your grace and understanding. As I've said many times, this community is not divided, but the division is being driven from the top, from the major political players, some on council, some not. To them it appears to be a game, but these are people's lives we're talking about. All of us up here have put ourselves out there to serve this community. And I don't want to put any words in anyone's mouth, but I imagine that the mental health of each of us has suffered in some way over the last few years. This is a fantastic borough filled with wonderful individuals and a long tradition of multi-generational families. They are long past ready to move forward. They're sick and tired of the bitterness and the hatred. It's long past time for this council and for those involved in Parkside politics to realize that. It is time for political, partisan games to end, and it is time for empathy and understanding. Thank you.
Michael, I believe we all appreciate you bringing the situation up, and I thank you personally. As you know, I've reached out to you numerous times and asked you to contact me for updates and explanations as to what happened and why. We didn't have that opportunity to get into detail yet. But I think we all need to wear, and I believe many of us in this room may have had somebody in our lives that had mental health issues. I personally have had that person or persons in my life. I'm an advocate of mental health awareness and suicide awareness, and I applaud you for doing that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to approval of the minutes from December's meeting. What's your pleasure?
Make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So moved. Madam Secretary, do you have any correspondence this evening?
I do. I actually have several items. I'm going to briefly summarize 3 items. From Delaware County Solid Waste Authority, and this is the authority where B&L picks up our trash and then we take it to them to process it. They will be increasing their rates as of February 1st, 2023. So it's going to cost us more money for trash.
Do you know
As-
how much more, Timika?
It's stated that the budget calls for an increase of the disposal fee from $78 a ton to $83 a ton. And that's an increase of 6.4%.
Thank you.
I think they're going to hold off until April to do that.
So that's a big amount. Then also with the CWA, with the water company. The water company is increasing their rate as well. As of February 1st, CW is going to increase their rates as well. Also, I just wanted to briefly, I'm not going to read the whole letter. We had applied for a grant monies for the West Cole project and for the Woodlot project. Unfortunately, we were declined for phase 3 of that project. I had received that correspondence. We had not been approved. I also have a letter from the Parkside Fire Company. Council members, please accept this 4th quarter report from the Parkside Firehouse. Your support is much needed and very appreciated. October through December financial report is as follows. We deposit $73,892.13 in our general account in the 3rd and 4th quarter with borough payments in the amount of $32,500. Was deposited on October 21st, 2022 and December 15th, 2022. Here are the how money was spent. During this time, the expense of $45,901.64. A sanitary, $200, flowers, $330, trash, $594.92, building maintenance, $1,995, janitorial services, $1,200, insurance, $20,395, training, $871.40, utilities, $6,358.26. Cable, telephone, and security, $3,861.64. A locksmith was $677.35. Marketing for them was $924.56. Food was $261.21. Miscellaneous items were $575.84. We received grants in the amount of $2,750 and then an interest payment of $1.80. The ending balance for October 31st, 2022 was $31,867.07. The ending balance as of December 31st, 2022 was $27,983.29. Submitted respectfully by the Parkside Fire Company. And then I have 2 more correspondence from the community. I wanted to send a message to all of you. When will the political hate end? May we, as a community, accept an organization at the end of next month. Is there any way that an executive session can be figured out with Rob's suggestion. I would like to point out that all of the bickering has also skewed our community. What we take for every one of us, what will it take for everyone of us to stop acting like children? In closing, I am disappointed as a member of the community in council. Council has turned into a joke as of late, and I truly hope all of you can figure out sooner rather than later. And this is from resident Bradley Driscoll, and the disappointment in the borough. And then I have one from Terry Heller, Council President in Brookhaven Borough. Dear friends, as I always do, I watched Parkside's December meeting with respect. I must clarify that the decision to allow the police agreement to expire on December 31st, 2022 had nothing to do with late payments. Not a single member of Brookhaven Council took issue with the timeliness of payments. In fact, one borough employee had no idea how the bills are approved or work or when the meetings are held and took issue with it. Neither our mayor or chief of police had a hand in making such decisions. I explained to our chief multiple times that there was no issue with payments. I wanted to clear that up. While I was the lone dissenter and wished to extend the agreement, council disagreed based on the recommendation of Chief Vice as a strain on our officers. Some of the upcoming deadlines were cited as reasons to allow the agreement to end. The deadlines are finishing for accreditation, adding rank to our department, and hiring of 2 more full-time officers. While I understand how important these deadlines are, I believe we could have extended the agreement, but I was alone in my opinion. I respectfully request that any one of you call me in the future to discuss such matters to avoid assumptions and rumors. Council makes our decisions, not our mayor or chief of police. He provides his mobile number, which I'm not going to read. I will always make time for you. I love and respect Parkside and wish to maintain our close relationship as mutual beneficiaries to us that we serve. Terry Heller. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Any questions for the secretary? Moving on to the mayor's report, Mayor Roman.
Thank you, Madam President. Crimes reported in December were 2. Both were criminal mischief. Calls for service, there were 61 of them. There were 3 medical, 12 of them were assist other agencies, 3 were domestic. There was 1 accident. For traffic details, there were 14. Motor vehicle stopped 6. Traffic citations were 4, and there was 1 warning. That's all I have.
Any questions for the mayor? Moving on to call to citizens. If you wish to address council, is on agenda items only at this time. Does anybody wish to address council for agenda items only?
A question. Who is requesting another reorganization to be done tonight?
I put that item on the agenda.
May I ask why?
Um,
We have a right now.
We seek to reorganize council.
You don't think it's already organized?
I thought it was organized just fine until December.
None of us then.
Okay.
Scott, in last month's meeting, you had made a comment multiple times.
I don't believe this is on, well, I guess it is.
Is it a question on the
Yes.
agenda?
Yes.
There's an agenda item?
Yes, it's about the
Reorganization?
reorganization. You made a smart comment, and it was it was pretty bad on the video. I don't know if you watched the video. Where you're saying, oh, that's okay, we'll just reorganize until we get our way. That's not right. That's wrong. We're all trying, we want everybody to work together. That's not gonna work together. My question is,
didn't-
why was that said?
Didn't we just have a reorganization so some people can get their way?
How do you know? Because somebody asked to have that. Regardless of what happened after he requested that, he went to everybody but you and Anna, by what I understand.
So,
Correct?
look, I believe we're off agenda here. I don't believe this is appropriate. And
You never think my questions are appropriate.
Can
What's
I,
the
can I,
difference?
because, you know, my name is being mentioned here.
I didn't say your name.
I'm sorry, who are you saying requested it?
I just said requested. Yes, you did, but I didn't mention your name just now.
Okay, so I will bring that up since there's a to clarify for everybody. I requested a reorganization of the council because it was my understanding that I would be the president of the council. And my intention was to, as I've done since I've gotten elected to council, to try to bring the council together. So then I was in the hospital for 2 weeks. And mind you, this is not like being in the hospital for a heart attack or something like that. You're locked in a unit with 16 to 20 strangers. You don't know what they're suffering from. There's a lot going on. You don't really have family or friends that can visit you. I had visiting hours 2 hours out of a week. So 2 hours out of a week. So I was not here, and I think it was wrong for the council to reorganize without a full council being there.
But you had a quorum.
It's possible, yes. I'm not saying it's not possible to
Thank you.
reorganize,
Thank
but what
you.
I'm saying is...
Thank you.
Right, Maria Di Battista. Stepping back to the reorganization, my question would be, actually I have two questions. First of all, if there is another reorganization meeting, is this going to be something that happens on a monthly basis until everybody gets their way? Because we all know that that's not going to happen. So that's my first, we have to move beyond this and we have to be able to work with one another, because reorganizing over and over is just going to put us on a treadmill.
I agree, and I'd like to address that. Mr. Costigan spoke, as he said in his letter, to all the Republicans. He met with our current solicitor 3 times. Mr. Costigan spoke about being president and myself as vice president. Many of us felt that a reorganization was necessary for numerous reasons. Things were not getting done. Things were not getting signed. Things were falling through the cracks. Michael was not available for that meeting.
And I was not consulted about my thoughts or opinions of the
I talked to you on the phone that Monday. Here, you were here in the office. I don't know if you recall that or not.
I recall.
And we felt that because so many things were being left go, that it would be appropriate to do a reorganization. My understanding is Mr. Sidlow has requested for another reorganization. Am I tired of the musical chairs? You bet. I've been on council for 21 and a half years. This is the end of my term, as I'm coming up in the next couple years. Personally, I'm tired of it. I'm exhausted from it. I mean, nap time exhausted. With the conversations that go on, the backdoor politics, I have mentioned to Mrs. Guy, I would love to be council at large. Give me a break. Yes, I think we're all tired of it. And will they reorganize tonight? I am assuming they will. Would I personally request another one for tit for tat? I personally would not.
My next question is, if there is a reorganization, and if the people who want their way this time get their way, will they then bring back the solicitor who is the
I don't know.
Is that going to be a flip-flop where our solicitor changes on the monthly
I have no idea. It's going to be a wait and see for all of us.
Okay. And then my last question is, I would just ask all of you that, I know you all have your agendas. I don't know what they are. I guess we're going to find out soon enough. But when you do choose another president, could we please choose one who understands Robert's rules? So that our meetings aren't a matter of turning to someone and saying, wait, how do we handle this? How does this work? Oh, I didn't realize we couldn't get a motion on this. Because our meetings have gotten so nauseatingly long that maybe if we handle things right the first time, then everybody can get home to their families and things will get achieved. So that's my
I
The
will,
solicitor's job is
I will
to make sure.
excuse me, Mr. Sidlow. I'm
That's
sorry.
absolutely not true, Mr. Sidlow.
I will address that with, and I did address this on a social media post with someone. We are here to govern. This is a business. We need to know the laws that govern us. And if you've listened to me before, you know that's one of my favorite statements. I personally have been in government for 40 years, so I have the experience and the knowledge, and would love to mentor younger members to learn that. Because again, this is I'm going into the end of my terms coming up. And I think that's relevant. And doing things in a timely manner is important because we're under deadlines just like you are and everybody else in the world.
Absolutely. And if I could just make one comment to Mr. Sidlow, just based on the comment he made. I was the president of the Sun Valley Band and Choral Association. I did not have a solicitor to guide me on Robert's rules. I had to know what they were. I didn't have somebody that I turned to and figured out whether or not to make a motion. When you take the position of such that you are governing a body, it is up to you to know what you're doing. It is not up to you to plead ignorance and to have someone else to tell you what to do. So that I just wanted to, that was just based on the comment that you made and my rebuttal on that. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. This is call to citizens on agenda items only.
Yes, Greg Solik, 142 East Road Road. It is just a comment, and this is, I have to say this now. This is about the fire company. We just had a report. I personally would have to thank them for what they did for me. In an emergency, they got there within 5 minutes, even before closure. So I was very happy for what they did and got the vitals for my wife. So I have to bring that up before I do the next call for citizens. But I really appreciate that and whatever they're putting their money out for, it seems to be working. At least for me, I have no complaints about it.
Thank you. Last round, anybody wants to address council with call to citizens concerning agenda items only?
I'd like to tell people I don't actually have an agenda other than the business of the borough.
This is a borough business. This is a business. This is a business.
Not everybody up here has an agenda.
Let's move on. Ladies and gentlemen, and our residents, I would ask that you bear with me. I have and no, where's Mary? We're not going to get out of here in a half an hour. I'm sorry. I was asked to see if we could keep it moving. I'd like to start out with my president's report, and I ask you all to bear with me. I want to thank the chief and our officer this evening. Our officer will be in attendance until everyone leaves this building tonight. Unfortunately, we had an incident after the council meeting last month. My report will be lengthy. We've had various government documents that were not verified, approved, or signed off and on, and I will explain this through my report. I would like to announce that council had an executive session on Monday evening to discuss personnel issues. We also held an executive session in December concerning personnel issues that was not announced at our December council meeting. I would like to thank openly Brookhaven Borough Council and Police Department for prior help with our police coverage. Thank you to Upland Borough Council and Police Department for current agreement for our police coverage when necessary. The agreement was processed and hand-carried by Mr. Powers, as we were under a time restriction as this agreement was not signed in a timely manner. We are hopeful that the agreement with Upland Borough is only for a 3-month period. And again, thank you, Rob, for hand-carrying this to their officials. The police audit form 247 has been signed and forwarded to our police pension auditors for future audits. The police department is now set up with the necessary fee and documentation to use the Upper Chichester facility for police training later this month. Some may note that our meeting dates had to be re-advertised. This was due to the fact that the dates were not verified and some dates were incorrect. If we had not re-advertised them, they would have been in violation of the Sunshine Act. I'd like to thank Mr. Bull for taking care of the heart and lung insurance coverage forms and audit forms that were due at the end of December. Unfortunately, the forms sat for a month and we had to make a deadline of December 31st. Our workers' compensation forms for 2023 have also been signed and been processed to our carrier. I have processed our tax ordinance and our trash-free ordinance. Both had to be certified and sent to Mr. Fisher so he may forward them to the county in a timely manner so we all get our tax bills and they would not be delayed. The ordinance was never signed and had to be certified, so we did make the necessary deadline. All delinquent 2022 taxes have been forwarded to the solicitor for processing. A copy has been sent to our treasurer for her records. The DCED municipal tax information form figures and budget figures have been verified and confirmed with the treasurer so that this information can be moved forward in a timely manner to the Commonwealth. All 3 service fee agreements have been received from our professional staff. I would just like to quickly note, in 2021, our solicitor's fee was $22,100. In 2022, our solicitor's fee, and this is only as of November, was $51,495. However, the December invoice will be reflected in our 2023 budget, and that needs to be noted by all of council. Our budget for 2022, the legal fees was $25,700. The 2023 legal fees is budgeted at $55,700, which is double the 2022 figure. Of this amount, the right to knows were involved and deducted into the solicitor's invoice was $9,350.50. Our tweaking of the ordinance cost $5,661, and the retainer up until November 30th was $18,344.37. We did have several issues on the solicitor's invoices that was questionable. Mrs. Guy informed me before the meeting that she did talk to the solicitor and that this issue, one issue, will at least give us credit for the December invoice. The upcoming audit with Premier Audit Department will take place for our payroll in the near future, and all necessary forms have been completed and signed off on. Our year-end audit will begin at the end of February. Unfortunately, a small insurance policy was canceled. This occurred late spring, and I only found the documentation recently. The carrier extended the deadline for payment, and the letter was ignored. That policy was canceled. Unfortunately, the holiday decorating contest was overlooked and never held last month. At this time, I would suggest that the Recreation Committee do the judging for the December.
Madam President, if I may, because as chair of the Recreation Committee, we had considered the holiday decorating contest, but due to my issues, it fell through the cracks, so I apologize for that.
I'm going to suggest that the Recreation Committee handle that matter for this December.
I'm sure that they will.
As a note for any bid projects, the 2023 bid threshold for contractors and purchases will be $12,200. There will be no formal bid or quotes. Contract and purchases between $12,200 and $22,500 will require 3 written or telephone quotes. Contract and purchases greater than $22,500 will require formal bidding and public notice. Our 2022 annual recycling report and the county's recycling questionnaire has been submitted in a timely manner to Delaware County Solid Waste Authority, with our year-end total being 211.8 tons of recycling. Our residents did a great job of recycling, and the volume material in 2021 was 93 ton. So we actually went over double of what the residents did the prior year. As many are aware, in November we held a community development block grant meeting to submit 2 grants for the 2023 Delaware County Office of Housing and Community Development. One was for an economical development plan. The alternative was being the Edgemont Avenue revitalization plan. Several items such as minutes, resolutions, and applications had to be readjusted as they were never signed in November. We are fortunate to have made the deadline for submission of this grant, and I would like to thank our engineer who sent a courier to pick up all our paperwork so that we would have made the deadline. I was also informed at the end of December that there's an issue with our beacon project. It is my understanding that PennDOT may not permit the entire project to be funded under the liquid fuel monies as discussed. We did not budget any monies in general fund for this project, and I understand that the former president and solicitor did discuss this issue, and I'm very hopeful tonight that we can have this straightened out by our current solicitor and our engineer so that we can move forward with this. As our secretary stated, we did not receive any funds under the Delco Greens Grant Round 3, nor did we receive any funds under the DCNR grant that we applied for the woodlot. We can only hope for better news as we go forward this year. Also looking into the future, we discussed this among ourselves and Vice President Bull and I believe that we need to look as a council into the future of the projects that we want to incorporate into our town, not just for today, not just for tomorrow, but 5 years down the road. We can also look into purchasing properties off of the sheriff's sale. They do a tax sale every year, and we need to keep an eye on those properties that are coming available. A possible pocket park, any type of parking area to alleviate some of the parking issues, a meeting area. Unfortunately, Mr. Sweigart does not feel that a small library would help, but I'm all for books. But I honestly think that council in our future need to look forward to what we're going to do in the next 5 years to have these projects implemented. We do currently have an open space grant for the West Cole Memorial improvements. Once we receive budget funds, I hope we can move forward on this. We have received an extension on the time frame for this grant. I would hate to see us lose this grant. The borough's share of this grant is now $41,650. I emailed everybody on council asking them for their opinion so that we may curtail some of the scope of work. We may only be able to afford lights and the rain garden, and the rain garden would give us credit towards our MS4 permit. So I'm going to discuss this under our engineer's report and get council's feedback on limiting the grant scope of work, because that would cut back on what we would owe out of tax dollars. Also, and lastly, and I'm sure everybody's saying thank you, there was a metal plate over a storm inlet at the corner of Upland Road and Tom Sweeney. This has been going on for several months, and I understand a child was injured. I would ask that council look into this, as I understand that the problem lies between Brookhaven Borough, PennDOT, and Pico Energy. I would ask that Mr. Powers, if you could get in touch and work with Vice President Bull and our engineer. As I said, a child has already been injured, and I would hate to see something else happen.
Will do.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with me. I know that was quite lengthy, and I again apologize. We'll move on to the finance report. Vice President Bull.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to make a motion to pay the bills.
Second.
Any questions on the motion?
Yes, I do. So is the firehouse payment included in that?
The
It
church.
was not in this, it was
I
a
think it
month
was-
before.
I think it was in November.
No, I know for a fact, it's right here, $32,500 for the fire company.
Then why did you ask?
Okay, so, sorry, maybe I should have just explained it instead of asked. Mr. Powers, are you still president of the firehouse?
I am.
Okay. Are you gonna vote on that payment?
What do you mean vote on the payment?
Are you going to approve? So I'd like to make a motion that we separate out the firehouse payment and vote on that one separately after we pay the remainder of the bills.
You can't do that. You
Wait a
have a
minute,
resolution.
let's ask the solicitor.
Yes, we can do that process, and in light of Mr. Powers' recent appointment as president of the fire company, I think it would be good practice for Mr. Powers not to take an affirmative vote on that particular issue.
Thank you. Any other questions on the motion?
I'll amend my motion to start with making the payment for the firehouse.
To omit it?
I'm going to amend my motion to only include the payment for the firehouse, so Mr. Powers can recuse himself from the first vote.
Second.
Any questions on the amendment? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So moved.
Thank you, Madam President. I swear I signed that check in November, so my apologies on that.
It's okay.
I'd like to make a motion to pay the remaining bills.
Second.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So moved.
Thank you, Madam President. At this time, I would like to read the report for the Parkside Borough, from the Parkside Borough Treasurer. All bank accounts have been reconciled through December 31st, 2022, except for WSFS bank account and Sharon Bank escrow accounts for Green Tree. They don't have those statements yet. Those are not debited or credited at any great American speed, so it's not a huge issue. We are including the bank reconciliation and statements for all reconciled funds for council's approval. The general fund for the month of December, $11,334.92 was deposited into the TD Bank, and expenses of $4,191.51 were paid. During this period, $18,117.22 of deposits were received into Sharon Bank's general fund, and $173,207.68 of expenses were paid, including payroll of $46,281.92. Below are the bank balances for the bank statements as of 12/31/22. The audit for the 2022 will be February 27th and 28th, and I will report on that in March to close the books for 2022. General account Sharon Bank balance is $407,390.12. General account TD Bank is $275,371.99. General account Pliget is $220.69. General account WSFS is $15,049.28. The escrow account for Sharon, part of the Green Tree, is $24,829.76. The other escrow account for TD Bank is $31,487.81. Park account through Pliget is $824.71. Police vest fund sits at $6,630.50. Liquid fuels Pliget fund is $8,661.32, and liquid fuels TD Bank is $46,843.75. We'd like to make a motion to accept the treasurer's report for December 2022.
Second.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So moved.
We will close out the year, not slowly. We'll have a little bit of a report for you in February's meeting, and then we will close it out in March with a much more detailed audited report. There were a lot of expenses that went beyond what were budgeted. Miscellaneous police expenses was 2,200% above, for a total of $61,000. That was not budgeted. There were a number of other, a few anomalies that will be corrected as we move forward that were, they just have to be reallocated, and then there will be a balance.
Excuse me, the miscellaneous was to pay Brookhaven, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, but we saved in part-time.
Not really.
If I could say something about that, having worked with the police department and looking at their budgets, pretty familiar with them. It is true that the miscellaneous expenses was up significantly because if you've come to the meetings or if you've watched them, you know that we've been working with other boroughs to provide us police service because we have had a shortage. But like the guy said, part-time police is way down because we can't find part-time police officers to work. And so if you look at the police department as a whole, yes, some are way up, some are way down, but as a whole, on balance, the police department was at 94% of the total allocated amount. So the police department is actually under budget, so just so everybody's clear.
Mr. Costigan, I have under control. Thank you for that, Mr. Costigan. It was not pointing any fingers or anything like that. I know the total budget. It was to basically caveat into that I've spoken with the chief on a couple of occasions to try to develop a little bit of what some of our part-time officers should be getting. And it is in the contract that if they work a certain amount of hours, that they are entitled to vacation. So there are other opportunities to where we, over time, could possibly have some things in place that would make it a much more desirable place for part-time officers to support our force, because if they have time in service awards based on the amount of hours that they work, if they say I pick up 4 extra shifts, I get my time in service merit award for this year. That's why I brought it up.
May I also interject?
No.
Thank you. Can I go home now?
Let me do my report.
I just want to feed off something Mr. Costigan said. Mr. Costigan is right in part, that the part-time police officers, the budget as a whole is at 94%. However, as I had to explain to somebody, our part-time officers were half because, and it showed as 94% as a whole in the budget for the police, because the end of March, all of April, all of May, all of June, and into July, we received free service from the Borough of Brookhaven. Without that free service, our budget would not have been at 94% as a total, but would have been over. Our agreement with Brookhaven did not start until after July. And they were covering 45 to 50% of our shifts. And the chief is going, yeah. Thank you.
When we did the budget in September and October of the previous year, we had no idea that there would be a shortage of police officers.
You can't predict that.
No, it's just an is what it is thing. It's not.
But what I'm saying is, to say that our budget is 94%, we didn't go over 100%, unless you fit in the details, that sounds like we did a great job. But for April, May, June, and into July, we were only covering 45 to 50% of our shifts, and we got free coverage.
But Mrs. Purcival, I would say we did a great job as a council of ensuring that we had police protection. And, you know, the fact of the matter is it was under budget. If it had been over budget, I think our residents understand that we're trying to do everything, we were trying to do everything we could to address the policing issue that we faced. And I think we did a remarkable job, and we as a council added or will have added 3 full-time officers in less than a calendar year. And I think that's something significant for this borough, considering we went from 1 to 4. I think we did a great job handling the police issue.
I think the council and our police officers do a wonderful job in public safety. I am not doubting that. But when you put facts and figures out there, I tend to look at the whole picture and not just piece of the pie. And that's what I'm trying to clarify. That, yes, we had 4 months approximately of free service for 50 to 45 to 50% of our shifts covered for free. And there is no way to project that. We can't project tomorrow what's going to happen.
Point of order, Madam President.
I'm sorry I rattled. Thank you.
My turn, I'm allowed to talk about
I will not
facts and
interrupt,
figures.
and I apologize.
Thank you. Moving on. To the open space report, I'm proud to report that we did have our first phase of an Eagle Scout project that is actually going to help the woodlot become a little bit more like an arboretum, and I'm excited to see it move to phase 2 or phase 3 for whatever it may need. Also, there was a hazardous tree that the company I work for removed for the borough last Monday. We were able to give the borough a very, 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 very competitive price. And I want to thank Mr. Powers and Mr. Capobianco for providing traffic control on Route 352. So next month I will recuse myself from the vote on those two, or those in that invoice. There is also another invoice from August that I will recuse myself from, and that was a storm damaged tree. Other than that, I will report general progress.
Any questions for the Vice President? Moving on, does our junior council persons have any report? You do?
So, as a junior councilman, I can speak up. I really just want to say that we need more unity in our community to show young people like us how community should work.
Thank you.
I take a t-shirt. Unity of the community. Give me one of them, I'll wear it.
Maybe in the next 2 months, our junior council members may want to think of a project for the spring. So thank you very much. Recreation, does anybody have a report for recreation?
I can just say that we had a recreation meeting. The mayor, you can chime in anytime you feel like.
The
but-
4th.
Yes, and so we just kind of discussed an overall calendar for the year of our events that we want to do and that we're planning to do. So we'll hopefully get that out there shortly. Our next real event that's coming up is going to be our Easter events. And then we'll go in from there into our summer events. And basically we're hoping to bring back everything that we did this past year and hopefully some more things too. I don't know if you have anything to add.
Yeah, no, everything is sort of.
Any questions for recreation? Moving on to police, public safety, Mr. Powers.
Thank you, Madam President. Upland Borough has begun police coverage. It went in effect on January 1st, 2023. It will run through March 31st. If our officers are hired beforehand, coverage will expire with Upland Borough. We received 10 applications for the position of full-time police officers here in the borough. The application period closed at noon on January 17th. No more applications will be received. The testing will take place on Sunday, January 29th at 9 o'clock and will be comprised of physical agility, followed by a written test. The Civil Service Commission has advised that they will be present during the testing. They will monitor the process. Once the testing is complete, the Civil Service will review the scores, and interviews will be conducted with the candidates with passing scores. Our plan is to have this done by mid-February. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Powers? Moving on to ordinance reports, Mr. Sidlow.
Well, unfortunately, I have to report general progress. I had a close member of the family pass, and the time I would have spent on ordinances were spent on family-related matters. So I had to cancel. First, I postponed the ordinance report at the ordinance meeting, and then I had to eventually cancel it. So I apologize for that. And so general progress.
Thank you, Emma. My condolences. Moving on to license and inspections.
Yes, I have Go ahead, I apologize.
No problem.
No, I'm sorry, I have the, if you wanted to read this one too, this is just for code enforcement.
Okay, no, you can do the code enforcement. License and inspection, thank you, Madam President. For the past month, building permits were 2, plumbing permits were 3. We had 0 electrical permits. There were 4 use and occupancies and 1 re-inspection.
Super. Any questions for Councilman? Mr. Capobianco, leave a report.
Yes, for January 2023, the code violations, squatter investigation on Cisco Court, athletic equipment, that's the basketball court blocking the sidewalk on Cisco Court, and a trash issue on the 2900 block of Edgemont Avenue, and a citation was issued. I would just like to add something onto this. I do live here in the borough, and if there's a street light out, please contact the borough. Please go to the website and get the poll number. Just briefly state what's going on with the street light, and we'll get the street lights repaired. Thank you.
Thank you. Public Works, Mr. Powers, do you have anything this evening?
Thank you again, Madam President. The repairs to the truck have been completed. Leaves have been picked up for the year, and all borough properties have been maintained for the month. As Vice President Poole said, there was a tree removed on Edgemont Avenue and West Garrison Road. That's all I have for Public Works. Fire Marshal report. There was a legal electrical hookup at Cisco Court that we caught in time before there was a major house fire. And for the total of calls for the year for the Parkside Fire Company were 216 calls. Emergency Management Coordinator, general progress.
Super. Any questions for Mr. Powers?
Yeah, I have questions. So, I really don't want these questions to be taken as though, I have a lot of respect for you, Mr. Powers, as having passion and protection for the fire safety of our community. Okay, you clearly are very knowledgeable on the subject and are so knowledgeable that all the leadership positions have kind of come under your leadership, right? So are you still the fire company president?
We went through 100 times. I don't know what you're getting at. But
Okay.
yes, I am the president. I was asked to come back by the members
Okay.
in November. I was out of the president position for 4 years.
I understand.
I have nothing to do with the fire side. I'm not the chief. I'm not a fire officer. I am the fire marshal paid position through the borough. And by the way, I am certified and qualified in that position. Now, I understand you took to the streets, and I don't want to bring this up here, because if you were at the meeting on Monday night, we could have talked about this instead of in a public atmosphere. But on the street, since you're bad-mouthing me, saying I'm not qualified, and I don't have qualifications, let me just tell you, there is no qualification in the state of Pennsylvania to be the fire marshal. There is none. I am qualified and have plenty of certification at what I do. You ask anybody in this town who I've been to their house, I've been very professional, courteous, and answer the call all hours of the night.
I agree 100%.
I don't know what you're getting at, Scott. Besides, again, this is the hatred that you bring to this council with me.
I am not questioning your qualifications. I'm not questioning your qualifications.
Okay.
I'm respecting it. As the president of the fire company and as the fire marshal, is there any conflict of interest that exists in doing those two jobs?
No. The fire marshal handles emergencies in the borough, investigative only. The president of the fire company handles administrative. That's it.
Okay. Will there ever be a situation where the fire company may have made a mistake in how they fought the fire, and the fire marshal would have to interpret that?
No, because I'm not fighting the fire. I am the fire marshal. I am not fighting the fire. That's why we have the chief. I'm not the chief. The chief fights the fire. The fire marshal critiques what the chief did, and then I turn my investigation over to the Pennsylvania State Police or the Delaware County CID. They're the ones who determine what happened in the fire, if it's criminal. If it's not criminal, it's solely on my shoulders.
Okay.
Now, if I was the chief and the fire marshal, you have a concern. I'm not the chief. The chief fights the fire. He's on scene. He is in control of that fire.
Okay, and you're not going to ever have to, I don't know, it just seems too...
Scott, if you're laying on the ground, you're praying I'm coming.
Rob.
That's all I can tell you. You wouldn't sit here and question what I'm doing and why I'm there, while I'm saving your wife or your son on the ground.
Rob, I am not questioning
Okay.
your commitment
Let
or
me-
your
let me make-
safety.
Excuse me, let me make a point that prior council presidents have been members of the fire company and chief and president, and there was never declared a conflict of interest. And our solicitor is here, maybe he could clarify that.
We actually encourage public officials, both elected and appointed, certainly to be volunteers with the fire company. The fire company needs volunteers. The volunteer fire service is in a distress level throughout the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. That has been an issue not only here in Parkside, but throughout Delaware County. I'm involved in the fire service, and I can assure you, we clearly need to encourage, especially our young people, to become active in our local fire companies. So again, we don't want to discourage that, quite the opposite. We want to encourage that type of volunteer participation.
I would agree, which is why I feel as though multiple people should be doing multiple things and not just having all our eggs in one basket. So I'm raising that concern. Council has the choice to, I'm raising that concern, that's all.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Powers?
It's not personal, Rob, it really isn't. I know you take it personal. But
Moving on
I
to,
disagree.
Mrs. Guy, did you have an opportunity to check the recycling totals for December?
Oh, I did not.
Okay, it's all right.
General progress.
Thank
and
you. Do you have anything for communication?
Yeah, I do. Thank you to all the volunteers from communication for the great job you did last year. We have another year coming up here, and I believe our first issue is coming out in February sometime. No, March, okay. I'm looking at Theo. But the next meeting is Tuesday, January 24th at 6:30 p.m. right here. All residents are welcome to attend and participate in the communication committee. We've set up an email account. It is parksidepubliccomment@gmail.com. And if residents can't make the council meetings, they can email their name, address, and comments and note if they're agenda related, and someone from communications can get up and read their comments for them. All messages will be forwarded to the Secretary for record keeping, and comments containing abusive language won't be read. Communication Committee is working on cataloging and uploading all right to know so residents can view them on the website, and all personal information from the request will be redacted except for their name. And moving forward, we'll communicate newsletter submission deadlines to all of council, so if they'd like something included, they can get it to Theo by that date. And other than that, general progress.
Could you please tell me who authorized a separate email for public comment versus our residents going through the office email?
So this is in case somebody's watching the live stream and they want to comment on something that happened during the live stream, but we can't put the comments, can't leave comments open in the live stream because we can't monitor what kind of foul things people are saying, so it's easier to kind of gatekeep that language off the meeting.
Shouldn't council have been aware of this prior to this being implemented? I mean, you're a resident, and I'm going to address this to Mrs. Guy. Shouldn't council have been informed that this was going on before it was implemented? And is there also a fee for this?
No, it's a Gmail.
A Gmail? And
It's a Gmail.
shouldn't we have all...
I think she's informing you now.
Well, it would have been, I'm sorry, I wasn't addressing it to you. I was hoping that we would have had open communication in which you or someone on council had informed all the rest of council that there is now a public comment email. And our residents, please feel free to direct your comments, whether we're live streaming or not, to our secretary. And I thought that's how we were
Well, I
proceeding
think the
with
point
this.
was that the secretary's not checking her email during the meetings, whereas the communication committee members can check during the meetings to see if somebody would like to comment.
Maybe next time, just throwing this out, any other committee that has updates like that, something we should be aware of before a meeting, we could have an email. Does anybody have any other questions for Mrs. Guy?
Can you turn comments off?
Can we turn the comments on?
Off.
Can we turn them
They
off?
are off on the live stream. Comments are off on the live stream. This is a way for people to comment and have it read in the meetings.
By whom?
Well, I believe a member of the communication committee.
Any other questions for Mrs. Guy on communication? The secretary tells me that there is a tax collector's report this evening because he's closing out his books. When I last spoke with Mr. Fisher, I believe the balance was approximately $19,000 that he had to turn over. The engineer's report, Mr. Catania's office and I have spoken, Joe and I have spoken, and I would like council's input on the West Cole grant. I've asked that we take and reduce the scope of work, and I've not gotten any feedback from council, but I'd like to see only maybe the lighting and the rain garden, and I'd like everybody's opinion as to should we, I don't want to lose the grant, should we delete some of the scope of work?
Could the scope of work be reviewed before we have that discussion?
We sent that out already.
The reduced scope?
The entire scope of work was sent to us, and the cost factor, and that's what I'm saying, if we reduce the cost factor to the lighting and to the rain garden, we're looking at approximately $19,120 in the ballpark there.
I think scaling it back makes sense. We haven't budgeted this money for the grant, to supplement the grant, rather. I think we should use the grant and try not to go much more over that.
Thank you. Mrs. Guy?
Agreed.
Mr. Sidlow?
I support general community improvement, and if that's the way to go, that's fine.
Mr. Vice President Bull?
Ecologically, I don't know if the rain garden in that elevated area is going to provide what its intent was for a memorial garden. The lighting, the flagpole lights and things like that. The rain garden would be absolutely perfect on the swales coming off the roads right at the edge of the woodlot as a way to capture all that MS4 water. So, and then you end up with like a native area.
Yeah, we were turned
in like a
down.
memorial garden. So, I mean, I would almost reduce that scope unless we lose the grant and then make hay while the sun's shining.
We had the rain garden in the other grant, and we did not receive that grant. We were trying to throw a rain garden in. Joe, Perry, what do you think?
I agree with the reduce of the scope. The only thing that I would like to see kind of put back in was the planting of an evergreen tree for the rec committee to use as a annual Christmas tree each year.
Right.
If that just that one little, rather than trying to put the base, fix the base, because that base gets
blown over
all the time.
And also, just to add to that, I think the bulletin board we were talking about, I don't know if there's money for that in there, but that's one of the...
I don't, that wasn't part of the grant.
Oh, it wasn't part of the grant, right, okay.
Wasn't part of the show.
I believe the tree...
The tree was.
Was part, so if we could include that, that's my own only thing to say to add back into it.
Okay, one
was
tree.
Just that one tree for the rec committee.
That is on the scope.
That is on the scope.
Yeah.
Rob?
I agree with Perry.
Okay,
We've been talking about a Christmas tree for a while, so.
we have been. Joe?
I'll prepare documents showing a reduced scope. I will email everyone and have an estimate for
Great.
the total project and also all of the 2 grants that we do have and what the totals will be
Thank
prior to finalizing it.
I have a question for the engineer. Have other communities in a similar way to Philadelphia, who has the Fairmont Parks Commission, essentially, like they are our green spaces. Like, so if a rain garden is not exactly ideal there, but would be at Ilg Island, would it behoove us as a council to say, and I'm not saying I guess what I'm saying, rename all the parks under one, Parkside's, as far as that goes, so that grant money can actually go where it's best suited.
Anywhere.
As far as that goes.
One of the ordinances that we have prepared but not, circulated to council but not put on the table to vote upon yet is further defining, better defining in the ordinances what is a park. So that's being approached from an ordinance perspective.
Not perfect. And then the other question, I guess I'll put that under new business.
Okay. We also have, I'm looking towards our solicitor and engineer to bring us an update on the beacon project. If either of you have something that we know, we can find out?
Do you want me to go through the report and then we can discuss?
Sure.
Thank you, Madam President. 2022 road program, highway occupancy permit for concrete and related work was reviewed by PennDOT and revisions are being made for a resubmission. As Ms. Purcival said, discussions with PennDOT regarding liquid fuels used for the project have been turned over to the previous solicitor, but the new solicitor and I had a discussion and looking for a path moving forward. We'll have further discussions. I don't think it's out of the question that maybe a few changes have to be made to possibly have PennDOT allow us to use the liquid fuels funds. I don't think it's 100% that they won't at this point, where it's ongoing and we just have a few hurdles in the way. And
That is agreed, and I will include that in my report.
Thank you. Grants 2023 CDBG applications were submitted on January 6th and are currently under review. The ARPA PA Small Water and Sewer Grant for Edgemont Avenue was submitted on December 21st, and that application is also under review. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the engineer?
Do you have any kind of timeline as when they might come back with the small sewer grant?
A lot of these grants, this one's a little different, but a lot of these grants have recently been taking 2 to 2.5 months.
Okay.
I can't get in contact with somebody.
No, it was just more of a curiosity.
Well, I do have we needed that resolution last month, so I do have a contact there. I can certainly ask that question and see if they have any sort of timeline they can give us.
Before the road caves in?
Yes.
Pretty much.
Understood.
Any other questions for the engineer? Moving on to the solicitor's report, Mr. Wells?
Yes. Thank you, Madam President, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The January solicitor's report is as follows. Number one, the transfer of all pertinent legal files from the borough solicitor to my office has now been completed. Number two, I have engaged in discussions with the municipal service specialist from the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation regarding liquid fuels eligibility issues, again, for the Edgemont Avenue Beacon Project. The woman I've been speaking with is referred to and is known as Miss Marjorie Paris, and she is now consulting with her supervisor and will be in touch with me regarding a formal opinion. So this has basically been pushed up the chain of command.
Excellent.
One additional level up from the PennDOT initial level. And I'm hoping to hear back from the supervisor sometime this week. I will continue to push this issue. Number 3, I have reviewed the 2023 borough tax millage ordinance, the trash fee tax ordinance, and the borough budget that were duly adopted by Borough Council on December the 21st of 2022. And I fully expect that legal fees for the coming year will be under budget, bearing any unforeseen and/or unusual circumstances. 4, the borough tax collector has forwarded to my office a list of delinquent 2022 trash fee accounts. My office will initiate efforts to either collect on those accounts or lien the offending property owners. 5, I wish to express my gratitude for again being reappointed as Borough Solicitor. One of the great pleasures in working in a small community like Parkside is the opportunity to have gotten to know many of our residents on both a personal and professional level over the past 23 years. During that time, many of our residents have approached me for advice and counsel to help navigate some of their legal issues affecting themselves and their families. I deeply appreciate the trust and confidence you have placed in me over these many years. I truly believe in this business that trust is earned. My goal as your solicitor is a simple one: to continue to provide the highest quality legal services to the borough at the least possible cost to the taxpayer. I believe working collaboratively and collectively with Borough Council, we have demonstrated and achieved a track record of success in that regard. I look forward to replicating that success in the future. Finally, I want to wish all our residents, again, a happy, healthy, and prosperous new year. I look forward to interacting with each and every one of you over the tenure of my office as solicitor. And I do want to end on one final point. It is said that courage comes in many forms. We have all witnessed an exemplary form of courage with certain public disclosures that were made this evening by Councilman Costigan. And with that, Madam President, I can report general progress.
Thank you, Mr. Solicitor. Any questions for the solicitor?
Well, I will comment that over the 2 years that I was on this council as your solicitor, you did not earn my confidence as a good solicitor. I feel like you will justify any behavior. I feel like there were violations of the Sunshine Act throughout COVID and people wanting to communicate with the community, and you justified that those lack of communications as being unacceptable. I think you've justified cronyism and conflicts of interest over the years by borough council members and employees for many years. And reviewing the codes in the last year, they're not clean and they're very scattered. So you do not have my confidence.
Well, Mr. Sidlow, we can't please them all, can we?
Councilman, I appreciate your constructive commentary and will certainly accept those comments in the spirit in which they were given.
Thank you.
Mr. Wills, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Earlier tonight in the meeting, you stopped me from voting on the treasury report. I don't understand why, because there was no payment in the treasurer report to the fire company this month.
Yeah,
The payment that
last-
we received was a December payment, which is already done, cashed, and we don't receive another payment until March. So why would I not afford it to vote on that?
Okay, I was misinformed, Councilman. I was under the impression that we were voting this evening, and again, I wasn't here last month.
Right.
But it was my understanding, we were voting this evening to appropriate the quarterly allotment for the fire company.
No, sir, we don't do that until February.
Then there would,
Isn't that right here?
We don't receive any
We
money
voted
till
to-
I'll apologize, I will apologize for that, because I amended my motion as far as that based off of, I remember signing the check in November, and distinctly, they're big checks as
Yes.
far as that, but as it was called to order, I did not think that having you recuse yourself was going to stop us from paying.
Yes, absolutely. I will excuse
I-
myself on anything
I
that comes to
apologize.
monetary stuff to the fire company. But remember, we also have a resolution with the borough that we receive those funds as long as that resolution's met. And since I become president, we've met that resolution. And we do plan on giving a full year-end report at next meeting. So there's some discrepancies when I took over to the previous administration, how we're going to bring that report together. So I was just baffled, so.
I have
based on the supplemental information you have now provided to me, there is no legal basis for a recusal, and at least based on this evening's vote.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the solicitor? Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we have call to residents, call to the citizens, and if you could just come up to the podium and give us your name and address council. He doesn't hear you.
That's all. Again, you don't know what he's talking about. You always think we're trying to get something we're not supposed to get.
How's everybody doing? My first time doing this, so, you know,
Just breathe.
bear with me here. All right, so, I only got one issue, and it's really not related to but Shirley, you mentioned, the future of Parkside, right? Within 5 years. I can relate to that. Like a couple weeks ago, I posted something on Facebook. Now, I'm not experienced. I just posted to get people's idea, but Edgemont Avenue, also known as Route 52, right? Goes from Chester all the way down to like West Chester, like, right? Now, right? Okay, no. It's actually not working. Yeah. So, I'm a Delco native, born and raised in Microsoft, lived in Linwood, Aston. Through the years, a lot of these neighborhoods or communities, they've done a lot of building up, a lot of modernization, and a lot of new business. And I mean, I can go as far back. I remember when there was no shopping center, no Wawa, none of that. Just I remember there was an old baseball field there, giant was. So through the years, all these businesses came in, they filled up, and it was good for the area. Now, Parkside being as small as it is, really about the size of a parking lot, in my opinion, it's kind of hard to compete with these neighborhoods when it comes to businesses. Now, every day I work in Malvern, I'm a truck driver. And every day I go down Edgemont Avenue, look to my right, I see this abandoned gas station car wash eyesore. Every day I look at it, I'm just like, I don't know too much of the backstory, so I'm going to post this on Facebook and kind of get an idea on why that's been sitting there for as long as it has. And I feel like, as a small town, it's a missed opportunity to put something there so we can compete with a Aston, something that will, attract someone to say, hey, there's a pad site available, I want to build something there. So I put it on Facebook, I was like, why is this building is such an eyesore? It's just like the most ugliest thing to look at. I feel like it's a missed opportunity. I feel like that it's just dead space that needs to be kind of demolished and resurfaced. And so I kind of got to understand that there was a accident there, a fuel spill, something like that. And because of that fuel spill and whoever was contaminated, nothing can be kind of forward with that. So I kind of want everybody's expertise here to kind of like educate me on that particular space, because I think if we can kind of figure something out to get some progress and did something there, or attract something like a cafe. You've been to the Wayside Market in Northtown. It's really lovely, little small little area. You go in. It's like a little home here. You get your coffee, you get your breakfast and stuff like that. It would be nice to have something like that there, like instead of driving all the way to Wawa or this and that, it'd be nice to have like something a little cozy there to kind of like say, hey, we got Phil and Jim's, but hey, we got this other nice little joint. So kind of want some educate me on this.
And I thank you for reaching out to me personally.
You're welcome. Yeah.
And I went back and I did some research. So again, if everybody would bear with me, between 2004 and 2012, there was gasoline fuel leakage, kerosene discharge, and 2.4 million gallons of underwater contamination that was involved. At that time, there was a benzene plume that existed under the property and beneath the now parking lot at the Parkside School. The property was in litigation for numerous years. There was numerous code violations that were noted for things like snow removal and weeds. All the code violations were taken care of by the property's owner, including 2019, the maintenance of the exterior of the property, which was painted. Our engineer at that time, Ms. Catania, and our solicitor, Mr. Wills, was also involved with the process with this property. In October of 2004, and again in October of 2012, DEP started issuing violation warnings. Samples were performed of underground soil on September 30th, 2015 by the previous owner. The property has been in litigation between the prior and the current owner for quite some time. December 12th, 2019, the DEP and the EPA approved a plan, a remediation action plan, to clean the ground soil and the groundwater issues. A National Pollution Discharge Elimination System permit was issued for the treatment of the underground water in conjunction with the then DEP permit. So that the Bureau of Topographical and Geographical Surveys from the Bureau were issued with conjunction to the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, because there was water involved. January 22nd, 2021, the DEP and the EPA approved mediation action completion with the release of the storage tanks. They found benzene, and I don't know what these chemicals are, MTBE 124-TMB, and other chemicals including diesel and
hazardous material.
when I'm finished, I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Powers. Kerosene was found in the soils. Soil excavation and subgrade utility site mediation was performed on February 16, 2021. May of 2021, an agreement was set for the use of the property, and it was noted that the use of underground water was prohibited. And an environmental convent through DEP containing certain legal limitations was issued. These limitations would give the Commonwealth the right of way DEP and the owner would sign off on an environmental covenant between current and future owners through the DEP. So in essence, we're looking at deed restrictions. Now, some may know that the school could not pave their parking lot, their lower lot, for quite some time because of contamination. And through the diligence of our engineer, Ms. Catania, this was eventually accomplished and declared safe from any contamination, along with other issues that we had experienced down there. The Pennsylvania Blight Property Act 135 of 2008 listed numerous issues that do not apply to this property. The exterior is being maintained, and this is not an abandoned property, as described by the Act. And if you would like a copy, I have partial.
Yeah, I would lock the tape in, you know.
After the meetings, I printed out a copy, a partial of the Blight Act of 2008.
It just seems like.
Well, unfortunately, if this changed owners and the type of business that is currently there would change, then there are legal environmental issues, not only zoning, county planning, our planning. There's also traffic plans, because this opens on a PennDOT road, construction permits, and the list goes on. We can only hope that the building is eventually sold, and our code department will get into this with the property maintenance code. I was not on site the day the tanks floated, so I would ask Mr. Powers to also address this issue, because he, along with numerous other agencies, were there that day.
Yeah, so I was the safety officer the day after a heavy rain. We had torrential rains for days. And what happened was the tanks underneath became floating above, and they had looked like sewer mains over there. And the product, whatever was in the ground, was flowing out of the manholes. They were ripped up and flowing to the creek. So we had the EPA, DEP, and the Coast Guard here. We had federal, state, and local agencies. We had multiple fire companies here try to contain the spill, along with Delaware County Hazmat Team. I was the safety officer that was involved with the agencies. The site today is probably safe, but still contaminated. For anybody to build on there, it'd have to be demolished, and then there's only certain provisions that can be built. If someone wanted to put another car wash there, that would be fine. You cannot put
It's
any
deed
type of food
restricted.
service, and no type of food service can ever go there.
Right.
So your coffee shop, your Wawa is out of the question. A car wash, gas station, mechanic, something like that. And again, we can't tell the people who own it, we can't force them to sell it. They do not meet the blight obligations that Mrs. Purcival said.
Because I didn't really quite fully understand. I knew there's laws and regulations and EPA stuff involved. I just wanted to just voice my,
Yeah.
sincere.
It's a shame, but that's where we are.
Because, as a resident, I feel like it just kind of hinders an opportunity to kind of try to get more and more footing into competing with all these other neighborhoods that have a ton of business. Parkside, which is small, little, and we have so much, which I kind of understand, I get it, it's just a concern.
As I've said before, if we could only have a shopping center.
And I got one other thing while I was in the call here, got one more thing, like Costigan. I appreciate your speech tonight. I can't relate to you on a bipolar level, or on a stressful level, and I can relate to you on that. I want to offer some sincere advice to you. We can see on Facebook, and we can see on social media, what people say or comment, take it from me. It's just no matter who it is, whether it's what party, Democrat, Republican, I'll be the first to tell you I'm a proud Republican. I still remember our conversation we had back in 2021 when you came to my house. And we had a good conversation, but don't worry about what you read. You worry about you. And the people that left you to in office.
Thank you.
Everything else is just noise.
I appreciate
That's all it is. Don't worry about it. Read it. disregard it, rip it up, throw it away.
Thank you.
Because I'll be the first time, I see a lot of comments on Facebook, and I just take it like a grain of salt. Do your due diligence, serve Parkside well, and you're okay on my book.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Andrew Slope again. This is referring back to our attorney fees. Two questions. In the numbers that you gave us, it's been at council, I believe, in November and December, that we are supposed to have attorney fees for our civil service and for Delcora. Were those fees included in your report?
No, I don't believe Mr. O'Connor for civil services submitted an invoice that affected the December 2022 line item yet.
So
And-
we do have a fee for that. You know?
$595. Thank you.
And how about for the Delcora thing that you brought up?
We have currently not appointed a special counsel for Delcora. However, with Mr. Wills as solicitor, there is no conflict of interest, and he may serve with the Delcora contract issue.
He would just, how much would he charge us?
Mr. Wills, I have his service agreement. I believe it was $185 an hour with no retainer.
Okay, that would be separate from what he would do with council.
No, it would be included.
Oh, it would be included with council. Okay, thank you. Oh, one other question. The bulk waste thing, it's February 1st, we go up. Is that going to change our trash fee for this year?
No, we're locked in through ordinance,
I understand that.
and that will be set until the end of next year.
I'm just saying because, you know, money goes,
Oh, I know.
you know, okay. So therefore, the trash fee would not change.
Your trash fee
did go up.
No, it did not.
It didn't.
No, we did not.
No,
It did go up. And the year before, then we
Yes.
actually adjusted it, knowing that they had this
Yes.
pending. And then the fee itself doesn't go up until April, I believe. So we're good for this year.
Your trash fee is set in stone for 2023. We can make no promises with
Yeah,
regard
that's
to
right.
what that
Don't
trash
make
fee may be in 2024.
Okay. Nothing for all. Thank you very much.
Suzanne Rowland. I got a question. Today I noticed that there was no trash pickup. Was the trash pickup, or recycle pickup, was that supposed to be picked up today?
My understanding, and I guess because of the transition in committees, that should have been posted on the website that no, there was no recycling today.
Right.
The holiday.
It's a
So that
holiday.
means
The Wednesday
that,
after a holiday,
Won't be
there's
picked
no
up
pickup.
until next.
That's
next
correct.
week?
Wednesday after a holiday. And I apologize, I'm not sure why it was not posted on.
It's very hard to find that information.
Ms. Timika, would you make sure that Theo gets that to be, I looked at the calendar yesterday and it was not updated, I don't believe, and apparently that was something that fell through the cracks, having that information be updated on the website.
And we're not the only borough. Last 2 weeks, Brookhaven hasn't even had their recycle picked up either. I didn't know something was going on.
It's because of the holidays.
But I do want to say something before we end up going to vote. I would like to see everybody vote and put aside Republican and Democrat. And looking at the actions of people in here and how they're working. I would also like to see, and it was a lot better tonight, that Shirley, you're up there, you're running the meeting, to have people raise their hand and be recognized, so that there is so much, not to have so much more disruption when we have our meetings. And the negativity and the nitpicking needs to stop, because it is very toxic. I have heard one person totally continually attacking people, and it is not good for our borough at all. And that's probably why you have a lot of people here tonight, because they're fed up with all this negative personally attacking people. You get a lot more with honey than you do with, I won't say it. Other stuff.
Thank you.
That Pooh's Corner would keep. But I think that would be a lot better. You know, if people want to get reelected, when people start talking and attacking people, if you expect to be reelected, it's going to be a whole lot harder to be reelected. If you want to talk to somebody, talk to them in person on a one-on-one, and try to be more positive than negative, because you're just not going to get anything. You know, I have voted for people. It doesn't matter what party I am, but I look at what the people are doing in here, not by just their party. You know, I gave some other people a chance because I wanted to see what they could do, if they could do a better job. And I want to say you were doing a great job, Shirley, today.
Thank you.
That the meeting is running a lot smoother, and that's what we all need to see.
Thank you. Thank you.
Your words of wisdom are greatly appreciated.
Lisa Cosharel from East Avon Road. Just switching gears a minute, I wanted to just ask a question or a comment about like the rain garden issue, like open space. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not an expert by any means, and I don't know the whole situation. You mentioned possibly a rain garden thing for like Eagle Island, but maybe I'm remembering something wrong. Was something about rain gardens proposed for over by the woodlot because they could really use like the water abatement sort of situation there because it's so bad with the runoff?
Well, stormwater runoff,
Yeah.
you want to stop it from, we get credits for that. And,
Yeah.
and the way that Wesley Cole Park is actually elevated, so you'd be capturing the water right there, but it's only going to benefit you for that area because it's just based off of grade. So there's just other places that have a much more positive, would have a much more positive effect having a retention basin with a rain garden that would slow
Which
down.
might be like over by.
Yeah, anywhere where you think that water would pick up steam to pick up sediment, because what they're trying to do is limit the sedimentary flow into the creeks because it's killing off the fish and wildlife. Coming off the streams, it's just been proven. And that's why they took out a lot of dams, because then it keeps the sediment moving and things to keep things healthy. So my only comment was, let's put things where they can benefit the environment, the people, and the money spent in the best and the more appropriate way.
Okay, thank you. I will definitely look into more research about it, so I'm a little more.
And for those who garden, you can do rain barrels.
Oh, sure, yeah, definitely.
Which is one of my favorites at home.
And then just briefly, thank everybody for continued support of the Parkside Food Drive. This month we had a whole bunch of toiletries and personal hygiene items and things in addition to food that went to Chester Eastside Ministries, their homeless and houses ministry. And also someone had donated a huge bag of like hats and gloves and scarves and stuff, so that was really nice. I love it when residents are.
That's great.
Our residents are always kind, but that was great. The next food drive will be, it's actually President's Day, but Monday, February 20th, because I'll be around.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that. Thank you.
I'm going to make this very brief. I just want to applaud you for your words today, for standing up on social media to the things that you saw as wrong. That takes a lot of courage, especially when you may be having to point out things that other people aren't going to want to hear. But I thought that was really brave of you. I give you a lot of credit for that, and that was something that I saw and just thought, you are an adult, but you're a young guy, and it took a lot of courage, and I was very impressed by that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Madam President, may I make a statement? If people are done. As the borough secretary, I've been here for about 9 months, and there's just like maybe 3 or 4 things that I've learned over the last year that I would like to share.
Definitely.
If everybody-
Does anybody else wish to address council at this point? Yes, ma'am. Hold the thought, Timika.
Kyle Palmer, I just wanted to ask Mr. Wells, I know everyone appreciates a reduced rate for solicitations.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
I know everyone appreciates a reduced rate. I just wanted to clarify, is it back to the way it was where only the president and vice president get to speak and you ask questions? Are we doing that policy again?
Mr. Wills and I have not spoken about that.
Okay. And then jumping off of Scott's thought, you kind of lost my confidence too. I imagine that you're a very nice man. You're very professional. You know your stuff. When I stood up here in 2021 and asked Ms. Purcival why she was manufacturing fees so we could have an event in the woodlot, you told me that, in a roundabout way, that you're right, fees can't be changed unless there's a resolution passed, but you should be telling her that, not me, because I want a solicitor who has no allegiances to anyone on council. Your allegiance is to us. So I don't want a yes man. And I feel like, a lot of people felt that about Mr. Musso and Anna, and I get that, because I feel the same way about you and Shirley, and I want someone who's going to speak up when there's an ethical issue. It shouldn't be Scott pointing out that Rob shouldn't vote on firehouse money. It should be you. Same with, budget approvals, like if Nick's salary is in a budget, he shouldn't be voting on it. That's his salary.
Please rest assured, my loyalty remains to the borough and the borough taxpayers. I can't emphasize that any more strongly.
So is it within your scope of practice to call out ethical violations that are happening within council chambers?
Yes.
So how come for the past several years you didn't say a word?
No. If there is an ethical violation that I am aware of, we will bring that to Borough Council's attention.
So when Nick Capobianco was on council and he voted to approve the budget, which included his salary, is that not an ethical violation?
No, because he is permitted as an employee, right? Because we are a community of less than 3,000 people. The borough state law and the borough code provides that a borough council member may serve as an appointed employee of the borough. And that particular budgetary item is allocated in there. So as far as him approving the monthly bills, again, that salary or that line item has already been approved in the budget.
But you should not be approving a budget where he financially benefits.
We've had that discussion before, and no matter who would be a specific person, that line item refers to a job description, not a person. And
please understand, as is my position here as a professional, as is any appointed official, they serve at the pleasure of Borough Council. There is no set term of office.
All right, so for example, Ordinance 550, which was passed by this council in March of 2018, changed Chapter 82 of the Borough Code, which was the fire safety inspections. It changed the fee from $100 payable to the borough to $150 payable to the code enforcement officer and the fire marshal. They got half. Do you know who made that motion and seconded it?
I don't think
5 years ago, no.
I don't think any of
honestly-
us would know that without having the ordinance in front of us and
I
the
can tell you,
the
Nick
minutes.
Capobianco made that motion and Rob Howard seconded it. And you didn't say a word, even though that's a blatant ethical violation, because they served in those.
What year was that? What year was that?
2018.
2018?
I honestly.
I don't, was I on council in
Who knows
2018?
What ordinance 5-6 years ago?
I wasn't on council in 2018, I don't believe.
Rob just
I just came on this year. I served 4 years. I was off for 2 years prior to that.
Yeah,
I
that was
wasn't on council.
2020 and 2021.
Yeah,
You were on council.
I wasn't on council.
You were on council in 2018.
2018?
Yes, you were.
Obviously, you have the information in front of you and we do not, so you're at the advantage and we are not. Is there something,
I'm pointing out that I don't trust our solicitor because he sat here and let them do that and didn't say a word.
Well, unfortunately, I think, and I understand your opinion, I'm not doubting that. And I'm not doubting the research that you've already done that I have not looked at. Many of us felt that we had doubts about our prior solicitor also not having necessarily a lot of municipal experience. And I have personally gone through line by line 11 months of his invoices.
That's not what my question
And I can, you mentioned Mr. Amuso.
I mentioned that I can respect other people's opinion on that, because I have a similar opinion that, you know, many of you disagree with. But I think we can come to an understanding there that we should, as taxpayers, feel like we trust our solicitor to have our backs to protect us from politicians who enrich themselves by voting on policies where they get money in their pocket.
Do you think that Mr. Amuso's salary as of November being over $51,000 was appropriate?
That's not what my question is about.
Well, I'm asking you, do you think that was appropriate?
Well, it's called the citizens, it's not question the citizens.
I'm just asking, she opened the conversation, I'm asking.
Do I think it's appropriate that Mr. Capobianco's wife submitted, I don't know, tons of right-to-know requests trying to figure out, he was asking questions about her husband.
Okay, we're going off track. And
I do, trying to read all the secretary and his emails in December.
Excuse me, I believe you and Mrs. Capobianco were tied at 13 each.
I didn't get a jump drive.
Right to know.
Again, I do appreciate your constructive commentary and will accept that commentary in the spirit in which it was given.
Thank you.
I know there's going to be a reorganization, but I'd like you all to think of something. Harry, you've mentioned several times that you will vote only for your party because these people voted for you. They weren't all Democrats that voted for you, first of all. So maybe 300-400 people, however many voted for you. They're the only ones that mean anything to you. We don't mean anything to you because maybe we didn't vote for you. That's what it's saying. You've said it multiple times.
I do not recall saying I'm going to vote for my party because it's my party. I have voted against things that they have.
Once. No, twice. I'm lying, twice. Okay? Twice.
But I have.
Since Anna's been in.
I have not openly said I vote for my party because they're my party. I mean, if you could tell me when I've said something like that, I will gladly agree with you, but to the best of my knowledge, I've never made that statement.
You said that to me privately.
Well, not even just it.
Well, if I said it to you privately, how would she know? Because I don't
I just
even
said
recall.
not to her, not by her. I did not do this from her.
I'm just throwing that in there.
But we all count. Everybody, every resident. You guys work for us. You work for the borough, for the residents, not for individual parties. Am I correct?
Yes.
So with that, you're never going to have unity or transparency because you have this one who wants to do that, this one who wants to do that, and this one who thinks we should do that. Because you want to fight among each other because you want power. Because that's the only reason you're redoing this reorganization, for power. At least Shirley runs a meeting normal. Anna couldn't even run it. She doesn't even get a president's report properly. Am I correct, guys? It's
Anna's
never
meeting
been
will
a
find
full president's report.
Yeah, Westmoreland. I just want to comment about Harry and I am a Democrat. The first meeting that he became president last January, Scott brought up the lights and wanted to do the lights when they were under the better rate. And Scott and Perry did not.
That's what I said, that's the first thing. It's only the two.
Well, it doesn't matter.
It does.
Well, that was when he was president. He was president. And he didn't move it. So,
I was just reaching.
We can discuss this outside.
I'm just saying.
Excuse me, can we address the chair?
Oh, sure, I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's my first
I
time.
thought Perry didn't go with your party. And I don't agree that you should go with your party. I think you should vote for the good of the borough.
I agree.
I agree with that.
I agree. Does anybody else wish to address council before the secretary has a statement to give? Ms. Timika?
Some of the things that I just wanted to share with the community and with council, some of the things that I've learned over the past year that I think that would be helpful to the community. As far as for like building permits, electrical permits, if you want to get a permit for your home, we only take cash, check, or credit for a permit. When you apply for a permit, we have I believe 48 hours to, I think it's 48 hours or 5 days to issue that permit. That permit is good for 6 months. Also, a lot of people are doing like an energy conservation, and we've had a lot of residents do solar panels, which is, really great that you're getting solar panels installed. Where we run into a bit of an issue is the process of getting PICO to turn the solar panels on. That whole process of getting your permit, fire inspection, electrical inspection, it could be very cumbersome. So if you know somebody who's going to do that process, please have them contact the borough and contact me so that I can help them with the process. It gets a little sticky and people get really, really frustrated, and I get a lot of calls concerning that. With the right to know requests, last year was overwhelming for me, being new on the job, but I did learn a lot. If you have questions, council, I just want to express, they're not hiding anything. We can't hide anything. And if you have an issue, please fill out a right to know request, because we can fulfill it. And I just want to say that having the right to know requests is important, but how does it impact the citizen? One of the things that, and there's some other stuff that I wanted to say, but I just really want people to take the time. How does it impact the citizen? Really, tangibly. How does it impact my pocket? How does it impact when I get in the car and get up in the morning? How is all of this impacting me? Timika, resident. I do live here in the borough, and I love living here in the borough. So I just want everyone who lives here, how is this stuff tangibly making a difference? Tangible. Have you seen gas prices? Have you seen everything that's going up? So I would just, please, take a second, take a step back, really. What's best for Parkside? Because I love living here. I love serving the community. What's best for Parkside? Thank you.
Thank you, Timika. Just to follow up on that, and I always say to people, come to the meetings, read the minutes, contact your elected officials. We are here to serve you. You pay our salaries. Contact one of us. And if we can't get right back to you, we will follow up with that, as our gentleman in the audience knows. Moving on, old business. Does anybody on council have old business?
Can I address that our flagpole next to the garage is really dilapidated, and since it should be under new business, but it's an old flagpole, I'd like to get that.
How much would this cost?
I propose moving it next to the sign. There are Memorial Day services, there are things that take place in the borough that would look nicer with that. I mean, the most beautiful one I saw was $3,500. I'm just saying, I'm not saying we're spending $3,500. I'm just saying, that is the wildest, most beautiful golden eagle on the top.
May I suggest that you price that out, including the moving, and come back to council next month?
And what do you mean by near the sign, the one at the school? Which sign?
Actually, out in front of the borough.
Oh, okay.
Right
Because
here.
it's offset, but the
Okay.
flag absolutely just rubs against the roof.
Ruins
It
the
causes
flag.
problems with that, and it's not really in a fitting place. So, over the
But actually, I
years-
think, is the camera and solar panel for the box, the drop box attached to that flagpole?
No, I think it's independent.
So important, okay.
Ms. Timika, would you put on that flagpole issue under old business for next month, please? Anybody else have old business? I'm going to go into new business, and instead of the motion for reorganization, I'd like to keep moving up to, everybody has the Animal Protection Service contract with the Brandywine Valley SPCA, and I'd like your pleasure on this.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions concerning the animal control contract with the Brandywine SPCA?
They're gonna keep this fee
Identical?
for every year for the next 5 years.
Well, I don't know about 5
5-year
years, but
agreement.
it's a 5-year agreement, so I'm assuming that it's going to be $298.51 per dog, $179.08 per cat.
Can I say something?
Sure.
These are solid people.
They are good people.
Because my mom was in the hospital for weeks, and her dog is an absolute nuisance, but lived at my house for a little while, and we loved it. It was a neat little dog, but it was good at getting out. And it's not really good at listening. And so
With
we
my dog.
basically in the middle of the night got on Facebook, got in touch with the Upland Police, who had captured the dog and delivered it at like 1:30 in the morning to one of the agents for this in Chester Township. And we met them in the middle of the night for a hostage swap. And they didn't charge us. They were super nice. They didn't anything. I mean, it was, all the officers were fantastic. These guys do a spot-on job. So every once in a while, I wonder why our animals go all the way to Westchester. But they understand that it's taxing on the pet owner as well, and they're 100% worth it.
And I've heard only good things about them. We have a motion on the floor to accept the contract with Brandywine SPCA.
And second.
We've got a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So moved. The next item under new business is a motion to reorganize. I believe Mr. Sidlow had put that on the floor.
Yes, I would like to make a motion to reorganize.
I'll second.
Ms. Timika, will you do a roll call vote?
Mr. Bull?
No.
Madam President?
No.
Mr. Sweigart?
Yes.
Mr. Sidlow?
Yes.
Ms. Guy?
Yes.
Mr. Costigan?
Yes.
Passed. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Powers?
No.
No. Okay, it passed.
Mayor, you should be a pro at this. You will now lead the meeting. I believe this is the fourth meeting, fourth reorganization in 13 months.
I forgot my papers. Timika, do you by chance have any of the paperwork in there for reorganization? I forgot my paperwork.
Well, why don't you wing it?
Hold on, here you go. You can take mine. Do you want?
Yes, please.
Under the Pennsylvania Borough Code, the mayor is charged with chairing a reorganization meeting. And so she will be calling for nominations for council president and council
Pass that down,
vice
to
president.
Tamika.
Okay, got Mr. Rose. Okay. Can I get a nomination?
I would like to nominate Anna Guy as council president.
I'd like to nominate Shirley Purcival as president.
Okay.
Is there a motion to close nominations?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have two candidates for the position of president. I'll suggest the mayor simply call the roll, all 7 council members, and at that time, when you're called upon, you'll either choose Councilwoman Guy or Councilwoman Purcival for council president.
Okay. Councilwoman Guy,
Councilwoman Guy.
Mr. Sidlow,
I vote for Councilwoman Guy.
Mr. Sweigart,
Ms. Guy.
Mr. Costigan,
Councilwoman Guy.
Mr. Powers,
Councilman Percival.
Mr. Bull,
Councilwoman Percival.
and Mrs. Percival.
Yes.
Okay. And then now, do I close that or I go right to
Go
the...
into vice
Yeah.
president.
go
I
right to
believe
that.
we now have a duly elected president, Councilwoman Anna Guy. Congratulations.
I nominate Michael Costigan as vice president.
I'll be nominating Doug Bull as vice president.
Is there any other nominations? Do I hear a motion to
I'll
close?
make that motion.
Excuse me?
I'll make that motion to close the nomination.
Motion to close nominations is made by Councilwoman Guy. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Very well, we have 2 candidates for the position of council vice president. That would be Councilman Costigan and Councilman Bull. So as the mayor calls the roll, again, each council person would simply designate their choice for the position of council vice president.
Okay. Mrs. Guy,
Mr. Costigan.
Mr. Sidlow,
Mr. Costigan.
Mr. Sweigart,
Mr. Costigan.
Mr. Costigan,
Myself?
Mr. Powers,
Councilman Bull.
Mr. Bull,
I'll accept the nomination.
President Percival.
Vice President Bull.
So,
I believe we have a new council vice president. Congratulations, Councilman Costigan.
so be it.
Okay.
I would ask you to pass the gavel. Councilwoman Guy.
I won't throw it.
No. Not yet.
Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm just going to read the committee appointments. For public safety, we have Michael, Mr. Costigan, Mr. Bull, and Mr. Powers, with Mr. Costigan in charge. Ordinances, we have Mr. Sidlow in charge with Mr. Costigan and Mr. Powers. Public Works, we have Mr. Powers heading that up with Mr. Bull and Mr. Costigan as well. Finances, we have Mr. Bull in charge of that with Mr. Sweigart and Mr. Costigan. Licenses and inspections, we have Mr. Sidlow in charge of that with Mr. Bull and Mr. Sweigart. Recycling, MS4, Ms. Percival, you would like to be a councilwoman at large? That is your pleasure?
Whatever you decide, Madam Chair.
Well, I'll give you that one again. Recycling with Mr. Costigan and Mr. Sidlow. Recreation, we're going to go ahead and put the mayor in charge of that.
I'm sorry, but legally she has no authority to spend money. It has to have an elected official.
Well, we were going to ask you to be the liaison for that, and Mr. Powers and
I'm sorry,
Mr.
would you
Sweigart.
repeat that, please? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
To be the council liaison on her behalf.
Mm-hmm.
And the other members of that committee from council will be Mr. Powers and Mr. Sweigart. Open Space will be Mr. Bull in charge with Mr. Powers and Mr. Sidlow. And Communications will be Mr. Sweigart in charge of that with Mr. Costigan and Mr. Bull. And we've learned that we should be voting for appointments, that these should be voted on by council, not just read off and accepted as such. There are a whole bunch that I'm not changing. I'm going to read them down if you guys want to vote, but they're exactly the same as what Shirley's, Ms.
We should
Purcival.
vote on each one.
Vote on each one? All right. What do you
I
think?
think for the sake of brevity.
Expediency? Thank you.
And that's another word. There may be appointments that there is unanimity among council, and therefore perhaps the council president should simply read those off, and unless there's any objection, they can be accepted as a whole by council. And again, there may be other appointments.
There are others, I'll read
There may
separately.
be a diversity of opinion, in which case we may wish to have the borough secretary call for a roll call vote.
All right, I'll list the ones that we are not changing from what Ms. Purcival named, and that is Junior Council Members Liaison, Mr. Costigan. Chairman Pro Tem is Perry Sweigart. Borough Secretary is Timika Stamis. Borough Treasurer is Brinker Simpson. Engineers, Catania. Solicitor will remain Jay Wills.
I am not in favor of that, by the way, just to make that clear.
Scott, you made that clear.
Well, I don't think we need to.
Can we move
Okay.
on, please?
All right, Building Inspector, Joe Ferguson. Chief Building Official, Joe Ferguson. Plumbing Mechanical Inspector, Harry Kent. Electrical Inspector, James Skulski. Emergency Management Coordinator, Rob Powers. Zoning Code Official, Joe Ferguson. Roadmaster, Ryan Cornog. Auditor, Leitzel and Economides. Insurance Broker, AJ Gallagher. Fire Marshal, Rob Powers. Civil Service Commission Solicitor, Robert O'Connor. Zoning Hearing Board Solicitor, Robert O'Connor. Computer IT, Steve Giancristoforo. Payroll is Prime Pay. Deputy Tax Collector is Timika Stamis. Borough Tax Collector is Edward Fisher. If there are no objections to those other than Scott's, you're on your own. Can we move forward with the ones that
I make a
are...
motion to accept the slate of
Thank you.
reappointments.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, onward. The webmaster will be Theo McCleary. I make a motion to appoint him. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carry on. Thank you. Let's see. Code Enforcement Officer, Safety Rental Inspector will be Dave Favinger.
Ma'am, excuse me, would I like an executive session, please, on that issue? The personnel issue, and I'm requesting an executive session.
Executive sessions are permissible for a personnel issue. That is one of the exceptions to the Pennsylvania Sunshine Law.
I understand. All right, and the only other different one is vacancy chairperson, Matt Saunders. I make a motion to name Matt Saunders vacancy chairperson.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call vote to make Ms. Timika.
You need your paper back, Tamika?
step on this.
Mr. Powers?
Yes.
Ms. Guy?
Yes.
Mr. Sidlow?
Where are we? We're on Matt Saunders?
Matt
Yes.
Saunders.
Yes, I vote yes.
Mr. Costigan?
Yes.
Ms. Purcival?
No.
Mr. Bull?
Yes.
Mr. Sweigart?
Yes.
I agreed to have an executive session immediately following this, you want?
I am asking for an executive session based on information that our newer council members do not have or probably have not heard in regards to a personnel issue of one of your appointments.
Would it be appropriate to step to the meeting room?
It would be
chambers?
great.
I mean,
I
rather
would-
than trying to clear the room.
Yes, that would be wonderful. And I
All right.
appreciate, Rob, I think you're aware of the situation I'm going to bring up. And Doug. Yes,
Okay,
please.
for members of the public, we are going to have a short executive session, the optimum word being short. I would expect this executive session to take no more than 5 minutes. So you are welcome to stay for the meeting. Borough Council will depart into the room to the side. I suspect I will join the council in that meeting.
Okay, guys, sorry, this is a little anticlimactic, but for right now, we are not going to select a different code enforcement officer or safety rental inspector. We're going to defer that until next month. And is there anything else? Anybody have anything else to add? Or I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Oh, I do have a question.
Too late. Go ahead.
Will you give the committee listings?
Yes.
I have a little phone, so I'm having trouble with this one here.
You don't have it memorized?
Not yet, most of it. To Ms. Timika, so that she can send that out to everyone, please.
Yes. All right, I accept the motion to adjourn.
Yeah,
All those in favor?
Aye.